wondered why this is weird? We were born naked and yet will likely die clothed. Along the way, we inherit embarrassment and we will pass it on to future generations without even thinking about it. We're the only animals that wear clothes, minus a few Hollywood chihuahuas. And yet, we rarely ask who put these rules into place and why. What if I told you that ancient Greeks, thousands of years ago, used to perform the Olympics entirely naked, and nobody thought anything of it? But if you did that today, you'd likely get arrested. And whether that arrest happens and how severe it is depends on which city you're standing in. In this video, I'm going to explain to you what happened. How did we go from this to this? And why does it feel so natural when history suggests that it really isn't? So a quick context set first, because clothes actually perish over time, no one can track exactly when humans started wearing clothes. Some genius looked at the genetic ancestry of body life. Something genetically changed when they started going from hair to clothes, and they know that people started developing clothes 170,000 years ago roughly. So there are 3 reasons why humans wear clothes. 1, the practicality of it. 2, signalling/belonging. And 3, rather darkly, control. Humans are within a handful of mammals who don't have thick fur all around their body because we became bipedal, i.e. we were standing on our 2 feet. We grew hair effectively to protect us from the sun's radiation, which is why we now only have hair on our head, because that tends to be consistently hit by the sun. It actually became evolutionarily advantageous for us to shed the hair in the rest of our body because it helped us with thermoregulation. When we were on the savannah and we were running for long periods of time to chase prey, we could cool down faster and run for longer. So basically we can sweat better without fur, and so we ended up shedding it. Humans had to figure out a way to stay warm when temperatures drop, and that's effectively what clothes do. They trap our body heat in. But beyond practicality, clothes ended up signalling a lot more. People would end up using what they're wearing to signal their status and which tribe they belong to. In the 1970s, NASA launched the first spacecraft that was going to exit our entire solar system. It's actually still traveling. They had this really nice idea of putting inside the spacecraft a little plaque. In case an alien intercepted the vessel, they wanted to be able to communicate to those aliens where the vessels come from and basically how they can find us. On the plaque was a diagram of a man and a woman, and more crucially, that man and woman were naked. By clothing those figures, Carl Sagan would accidentally be implying which tribe those people belonged to. And he didn't want to do that because he wanted it to represent Earth. It's actually relatively recent that we have had such a strong link in our heads between nudity and sex. For thousands of years, Egyptians, Mesopotamian, people in the Indus Valley civilizations, the only reason they would be embarrassed about being nude is because it would say something about their status as a person. And it was the most lower status thing to be naked, as slaves commonly were, because they couldn't afford possessions, and they'd also be shoeless. Now I'm speaking about ancient civilizations, but it's worth saying that the Greeks were a bit of an anomaly to this. You've probably seen some of their statues in museums, and men specifically are often depicted naked because they saw nudity at the time as a really empowering state. They associated it with Greek gods, and they thought it showed a lot of pride and confidence. That wouldn't be in the everyday. It would still, I think, be a bit shameful to walk around the streets naked, but in very male-heavy spaces, for example, sports and training for war, men would be in those spaces naked, which is also why the Olympics happened in the nude. Gymnos in Greek actually means naked, and that's where our word for gym comes from. Now, a really important part of this whole signalling narrative is religion. Religion has played a massive role in shaping how we think about the naked body, particularly the Abrahamic faiths. In Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, the story of Adam and Eve is foundational. Now, we all know Adam and Eve, there was... Yeah, I won't explain it. But what you need to know is the moment that they ate the forbidden fruit, they looked down, felt shame, and realised that they were naked, so covered themselves. This idea of nudity being connected to sin, weakness, and the fall of humanity lodged itself deep into Western culture. This spread within Christianity with a theologist called Augustine in the 5th century. It's just like scary because this is religion. I just really don't want to get anything wrong. Augustine changed the framework in which Christians thought about nudity. He didn't say the body was evil as such, but he argued sexual desire had become disordered after the fall. The way that he proved this was that he said every part of your body obeys your will, except your genital. The involuntary nature of arousal was the signature of sin for Augustine. Interestingly, in Eastern religions, such as Jainism, Hinduism, Buddhism, a lot of the most enlightened figures, like they call them sadhus, often they walk around naked. And the idea is that they've reached such a state of enlightenment that they've managed to detach from all material possessions, including your clothes. And that leads perfectly into the third reason why we wear clothes. Control. Because although you might go to majority Hindu or Buddhist countries, you might not see everybody being nude and feeling fine about it. And you might wonder where that prudishness comes from. And as with most things, this one comes down to colonialism. Bum bum bum! So, in England, perceptions on nudity were slowly getting more and more prudish. As early as the 15th century, the authorities started taking action against public indecency and exposure. This was obviously to do with the religion element, but interestingly, it was also to do with the fact that the population was getting a little bit richer and having a little bit more private property. So, I listened to this really cool podcast recently, which really explains this well. The podcast was actually on the evolution of swear words. What used to be a swear word way back in the day was things like Jesus Christ and like, oh God, you know, like using the name of God in vain. But that evolved within the 16th century to more the swear words that we know and think of. And if you think about what those words are, they're effectively either body parts or things that you do in private. Like having sex, going to the toilet, all of these kind of behaviours you tended to conduct naked. So things like that started becoming taboo because people went from having zero privacy in their houses simply because they couldn't afford it, to suddenly having a private room where you can have sex and you don't have to do that in front of your child. Weird, but that's actually true. People used to do that. I know. This is when people were wearing those kind of corsets that forced you into being not only not nude, but a specific body shape. Colonialism comes in, and you have these same people with rigid customs heading off into incredibly abundant lands, which also tend to be hot. You go to places like India, Australia, South Africa, and they are encountered with indigenous people who, because of the climate, tend not to wear much. A wicked thing started happening because in their minds they're associating nudity with low status. They start to view these people as savages. Effectively, they exported this shame around nudity to all these different regions, and they forced people in those lands to wear the same clothes as them, and you still see the effects today. The second incredibly sad part of this control equation is how it affects men and women differently. To give an example of how we treat male and female nudity differently even today, if you take the same state of California and you take cities that are just hours apart, you'll be faced with completely different nudity laws for a woman. In San Francisco, it's legal for a woman to be topless, but you require permission to do it in a park. Cross the bridge to Oakland, and exposing breasts is completely illegal. And in Berkeley, you can't expose anything below your areola. Not just nipple, your areola. And the reason why is because of two things. First thing is paternity lineage. So a woman obviously knows when a child is hers because she's the one giving birth, but a man doesn't. For him to invest as much effort and time as he does into developing one of his offspring, he wants to know that his investment is worthwhile and that his child is actually his. And so the only way that they can do that is by making it really hard for a woman to cheat. And the second factor of this is when property was introduced, the stakes got even higher because a man would often be giving all of his wealth to his children, and so there was more incentive for people to try to lie about that. So all of this stuff around making sure that a woman is covering up. It's basically to try to lower the chances that she's cheating. Dr. Keon West published in the Journal of Happiness. He surveyed 850 people of a variety of ages, ethnicities, and religions, and found that those who spent time naked or partially naked around others also liked their own bodies more, thought better of themselves, and were more satisfied with their lives overall. So I hope by unwrapping the forces that have led to where we are now with nudity, you can think about this topic slightly differently. Here's to feeling more comfortable in our own skin. Okay.
Tell people to like and subscribe.
I'm not going to do that. Yeah, I should do that. Thanks so much for watching. If you learned something new, please consider liking and subscribing, and we'll be back next time with more curiosity brewed.